Hello friends and enemies, welcome back to Happy For Now. It's me, Isabel, here with my mid-month wrap-up. I've already read 12 books this month and it is time to wrap them up, and I'm so excited. None of my queer romance readathon reads will be here. They will be in my end-of-month wrap-up, which will also have all my stats and everything else I read this month, which I'm already at 12 books, so I'm expecting a pretty heavy reading month and a longer wrap-up when it comes to my end-of-month wrap-up. If you're new here, I don't talk about stats in my mid-month, besides the fact that I told you how many books I've read so far. That's it. We will do all the full month stats at the end of the month if you're curious, and we will run through them then by rating. Here, we're just gonna do my books and then my manga in the order I read them. First up, we have Summoning Up Love by Cynthia Williams. I loved this Harlequin Presents. I want to add it to my shelves, and I loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. This follows Vanessa, who is recently lost her job as a news anchor in Atlanta, and she moves back home towards the beach where her grandma lives and is living in one of her rental properties. And she meets Dion, who is a blue collar worker for the city. He's a manager sort of position, but he's not up here making tons of money or anything. Not that most government jobs pay that well, but you get what I'm saying. He's a little more blue collar, I would say. And him and his brothers all run a ghost hunting business. And this book was an absolute blast. I feel like Cynthia did a really good job capturing the South in this story, and things that we do in the South as far as welcoming people into your homes and things. It was really fun, and I really loved seeing that represented on the page. I also loved how much Waffle House was mentioned, because that also felt very accurate. I literally finished the book and we got Waffle House that night because I could not have Waffle House after reading it. But we follow her and Dion slowly coming to terms that they like each other. Dion falls first. He's like, I cannot talk to her. I like her too much, and if I talk to her on the phone, I'm just gonna be really awkward because I really like her. And I loved that immensely. It was so well done. But yeah, she thinks they're gonna try and scam her grandma, and that kind of kicks off their sparring relationship that then turns to love, and it just perfection. I absolutely adored it. Then I read Love and Other Disasters by Anita Kelly. This features Dahlia and London, who is a non-binary character, and our author is also non-binary. This is a great one to pick up this week if you're participating in the Queer Romance Readathon. And this follows a celebrity chef type cooking show. Well, not celebrity chef, a cooking show, with celebrity chef hosts, where people compete. So many shows on TV now, right? And this was really fun to read. I really enjoyed it. I think that this was one of those ones that if it weren't for the third act breakup, it would be a 5-star for me. Because for me, at least, everything else leading up to that third act breakup was perfect. I really enjoyed it. The steam in this book and the sex scenes that were laid out and how they were represented. I enjoyed the discussions about how people do and don't accept you when you're non-binary, and the transphobia. Just there's a lot of discussion in this. But we also got to see Dahlia has a sibling who is trans, and that was really wonderful to see on page, and they were able to better relate to London and help them in situations where people on the show were being crappy. And yeah, we just followed their really cute romance. But that third act breakup for me ruined it, because I felt like they had so much time together that they should have communicated things a little bit better to avoid the third act breakup, personally. And so that's what made it 4 stars for me, but I do still think this is a great one to pick up. I do want to give a quick content note here. There's transphobia, there's misgendering, and there is divorce and shitty parents kind of situation. So go in knowing that ahead of time, that way you're not surprised by it. Then I read Finlay, Donovan, Knocks Him Dead by El Casamino. This is one of my favorite cozy mystery series. It's just, they're so funny and they're so wild. This one opens up with a goldfish funeral that had me cackling at 8 in the morning, okay? That doesn't happen very often, but I was laughing my butt off at this one. And I gave this 5 stars. This was an absolute favorite. I love this series. I cannot wait for it to continue. I think the next one comes out in January and I'm dying for it. I love this series so much. But we follow Finlay Donovan, who is an author of mysteries, who also happens to be an accidental contract killer, sort of. Book 1 follows her first adventure in this, and book 2 follows her trying to protect her ex-husband from a killer. And it was just so fun with how it worked out and played out in the story. I loved it immensely. and I cannot wait to see where we go in book 3. But yeah, this was just really, really funny. By the end, the reveal of who actually tried to hire the hitman was really funny as well. Overall, really great story, 5 stars. Now, my most mediocre read of the month so far, I would say, is Haunting Adeline by H.D. Carlton. I finally finished it. I pushed myself to finish this book because I just want to be able to talk about it. And I think I'm gonna do a video where we talk about right-wing conspiracies in romances, because this book, I understand why people love it, and there's no judgment towards anyone who loved this book, but I have a big issue when we center really solid beliefs that people have, like currently. Like, this isn't like underground conspiracy stuff. Like the whole like they kill children and drink their blood is like a very real conspiracy, and I think it's just really damaging to perpetuate that in fiction. So I gave Haunting Adeline 3 stars. There's a viral, semi-viral Twitter thread I did where I illustrated the graphics. It is in this week's coming vlog as well if you want to hear me break this down a little more. The parts I really liked this book, I really liked and enjoyed. There were some solid writing points, and then I would read other parts of the book that just felt so disjointed from the rest of it. Like, the writing was not consistent throughout. On top of the right-wing conspiracies present, I personally just really struggled to love this book, and it had a lot of ingredients that should make me love this book. I like dark romances. I like stalker romances. I enjoy them. I don't enjoy when I have to be like, is this hitting a little too close to home right now? And that's what a lot of this felt like. It was hitting a little too close to current world situations. And it's just always interesting to read and to see in a book and to think, huh, okay, you thought this was a good idea, and here we are now reading it. It was just a bit of a mess for me personally, especially over 500 and some pages of this. Like, it just was too long, too drawn out. And then it also was hard because like our hero Z is like battling this thing of like, I'm different from these people I'm killing, and it's like, are you though? Are you really that different? Like, you know, we're doing a whole vigilante, like I'm the good guy because I'm killing the bad guys thing, but we're also not examining the like other implications there, because you are killing people. I also want to note that like this book just has so many content warnings. I'm not going to list them all here. I have them in my review on Goodreads, so I will link to that or list them in the comments because it's too much, like too much. So proceed with caution if you're interested in Haunting Adeline. If you're on the fence for it, I would say don't pick it up. I don't think it's worth your time. I think it's too long, like way too long. So next I have an arc I got from Lillian Lark, which is Found by the Lake Monster, which is out June 17th. I'm so excited, y'all. I'm so excited. Oh, I'm so pumped for this book. Anyways, I really liked this. I gave this 4.5 stars. This follows Amy and Adrian. Amy agrees to go help her coworkers search the swampy woods area to find the lake monster. And she gets lost and separated from her group and like loses her walkie-talkie and stumbles into Adrian's domain. And Adrian is our local lake monster. He's a Nyx. For a book I didn't expect to like, I really liked this. I mean, I didn't think I would hate it by any means. I just wasn't sure. I've not really read a lot of lake monsters or Kraken heroes. I mean, I've read like the one Lillian Lark talked about the Kraken, but like that was like tentacle, and this has like a different situation, which we will talk about in a minute. This was so freaking fun though. Oh my goodness. I left Found by the Lake Monster just absolutely thrilled that I spent my time reading it. I gave it 4.5 stars at the end. I just wanted it to be a little longer, to be honest with you, and that's partially why I knocked off a star. I think this had such a good world building for such a short book. I think it's 104 pages. I mean, it's a very short. This follows, so Adrian is also an accountant, but he works for supernatural creatures, and he thinks that Amy is his date that has been set up by the matchmaker. Then he finds out she's not, and they slowly like come together. It's very insta-lovey. When he sees her, he thinks she's his mate. The story is just really cute and sweet. If you are a monster romance lover and you're curious, I would say pick it up. I do want to note there is oviposition, which is something you probably have never heard of, and that is when something comes out of him and it goes into her cervix to give her eggs. It was weird. But somehow when I read it, it was very hot and it worked really well. I don't know that I trust anyone else to write this besides Lillian Lark. but I do think that this worked incredibly well for what it was, and I don't, you know, I'm not opposed. I really, really liked it overall. It was a fun time. Next, I read Down and Dirty by Mari Carr. This is my first Mari Carr, and it will not be my last. This is an MFM romance, as in swords do not cross. So I do want to caveat that immediately because I am always sad when the swords don't cross, but this worked for me a lot. So this follows a single mother named Jess. She is really down on her luck. They lost their apartment, they've been couch surfing, and now they're sleeping in her car outside of Tony and Reese's building where they have like their offices and their apartment. This was so good. I stayed until 3 a.m. almost finishing this book, and then I finished it pretty quickly after. And honestly, if I hadn't have had things to do in the morning, I would have just stayed up all night and finished it. Like, it was good. I just like could not put it down. This book did make me cry though. I'm gonna note that. I don't cry a lot, and this book made me teary-eyed because I think the single mom struggles in this book just hit hard. So they find her like basically frostbitten outside of their apartment. This is in Philadelphia. They bring her in. Reese is a doctor, and they nurse her back to health, finally convince her to move in with them with her son, and they like both take on the role of dad with him, and they have this aunt who's like his grandma, who like acts like the grandma and helps, and they're just constantly helping her out, and it's really, really sweet to see them just help this person that they know from coming to the restaurant she waitresses at, and how much they care about her even though they don't know her yet. And then as they get to know her, they all kind of start to crush on each other, and it moves forward to steamy times. It does take a while for them to hit steamy times, I'm not going to deny that, but it worked really well because Jess doesn't want to put herself in a situation where she doesn't have somewhere to stay. And I loved watching this happen. I'm really excited for the second book. It comes out at the end of this month, and I'm curious to see where that goes, but this was just really fun. I think it was a great dynamic between the two of them. We kind of had our alpha hero and our soft hero, and I loved just watching them push and pull together, and the sex scenes were super hot. Again, overall, very surprised how much I loved this, because MFM is not my favorite. I like the swords to cross. So yeah, that was a fun one. Next, we're gonna talk about all the manga I've read so far this month. So first up, I read My Boyfriend in Orange, volume 10 and 11, which I gave both 4 stars. I'm now caught up to the US releases of this manga, which follows a young girl who is crushing hardcore on a fire department employee, and like is kind of pursuing him, but he will not pursue her back. So they kind of circle around it, and by this last volume, we've kind of come to terms that like he will date her when she's older, and he wants her to experience life and do all these things, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I thought it was really cute. I'm enjoying it still. It's really fun. I kind of try to forget how young she is when I read it because it is a little uncomfortable, but still for the most part, I really enjoy this manga. Then I read volume 3 of Fire in His Fingertips, which I gave 4 stars too. So I love this series. This is my favorite extremely explicit smutty manga. Volume 3 was not great. Volume 1 and 2 were amazing. This volume really suffered in some ways because I feel like the plot development didn't move forward enough. We were kind of just circling a lot of the same conversations, but like the smut was still good. So I gave it 4, 3.5 might be more accurate, but I have a soft spot for this. I'm hopeful volume 4 will be better. I don't know that I'll ever drop it though, because again, it's just the best quality filthy manga I've read. Then I read volume 5 of Yakuza Lover, which I did also give 5 stars. This was the total opposite. I feel like the plot was moved so far forward in this volume that I am just thrilled to be caught up and waiting for the next volume already. This, we continued to watch Oya and I cannot remember her name, the girl, the female main character, fall in love and like be in a relationship, and her have to like deal with some people who are very jealous of her being with him. Gold stars all around. It was so fun. I recommend this for anyone who likes smutty mangas, but wants a little more plot. This is also super duper insta-lovey though, so if you're not into insta-love, you're not gonna like this. Then I read Yona of the Dawn, volume 36, which I gave 5 stars to. This is an amazing volume. I feel like we got a lot of development on characters here and world and things happening. We are like full steam ahead into a very heavy plot line that we've been building to, I feel like. I don't have a lot to say about this that isn't a spoiler. So I do want to say that if you are interested in Yona of the Dawn, you definitely should be picking it up. It's a great time to. We're definitely going to be getting slower releases in the States since we're caught up or about to be caught up to Japan. I don't think we get our next one until October, so we've got to be caught up. Highly recommend. This is a fantasy romance, very slow burn, slow build, about a princess who watches her father be murdered. and goes on the run with Hawk, her personal bodyguard, and she turns out she's the queen of 4 dragons. I'm very excited. Last, I read Welcome Back, Alice. This is by the same mangaka as Blood on the Tracks, and I liked this, but I'm gonna say proceed with caution. If you're really curious, you can message me and I'll tell you more detail about it. I don't really want to talk explicitly about it, but this follows 3 childhood friends, and like they're finishing grade school. One friend leaves, then he comes back and they're starting high school. He's dressed up as a girl, and the language I'm using is the language used in the book. I'm not using, there's no language like used in the book that is what we would use in normal situations, so it's hard to like talk about. But this character, Alice, gets special permission to wear the girl's uniform and says they don't identify, like it feels like they're probably going to be non-binary at some point in the book. They like talk about how they don't like being a boy, and it talks a lot about sex drive with high school age students. There are scenes with masturbation in this, and there is also some forced kissing, and it is like supposed to make you uncomfortable and repulsed, and that is definitely how I feel about it. I'm curious to see where it's going, especially after reading the end credits from the author, like where they talked about their inspiration for this series. So I'm repulsed and curious. I have pre-ordered like 3 volumes when I did a Barnes & Noble thing, so I will see what I think by volume 3. And yeah, it's weird to talk about because like nothing is explicitly set on page for pronouns or any of that with this yet. But do proceed with caution if you feel like if Blood on the Tracks is too much for you, you're not gonna want to read this, because this is like even more explicit somehow, and just as creepy. That is everything I've read so far this month. Let me know if you've read anything you've loved so far. And if you don't want to do that, you can leave a sunshine emoji, because holy crap, it is so hot here right now. Like we're finally hitting the high 90s and I'm ready to go full like hide inside mode. Or be in my pool. Like it's one or the other. We are either soaking in the pool or we are hiding inside. And honestly, it's more hiding inside than soaking in the pool because it is too hot. So leave me that emoji out down there. I will have links to all these books in that description box, as well as links to me, my friend, anywhere on the internet, and I will talk to y'all in just a few days. Bye.
Already packing, come with me. I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be, life with no distractions. We'll get